Shalom, it's Izzy, your Hebrew teacher here, and this is Hebrew Chapters with Holy Language Institute. Read with me through Genesis chapter 12 in Hebrew, beginning in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. You will notice these big letters here. This is the name of the Torah portion, or as we call it in Hebrew, the parasha. The Torah, the 5 books of Moses, are broken up into weekly readings so that the Jewish community and their friends can read through them once a year. So this is the third parasha, or Torah portion, named Lech, Lecha, go for yourself, after the first key phrase in this parasha. Let's begin. Va-yomer. The verbal root there is amal, and it means to say. Va-yomer, and said. Who did the saying? Here we have the name of God spelled Yod He Vav He. Most scholars believe God's name was originally pronounced Yahweh. For the last couple thousand years, Jewish people have been avoiding pronouncing God's name and saying Adonai, which means my master or Lord, in reverence. So I'll be following that tradition in these Hebrew Chapters episodes. Vayomer Adonai, and said the Lord, El, to Abram. Who's this? Well, in English we would say Abram. Later, the letter He, the 5th letter of the alphabet, was inserted into his name, and he was renamed Avraham, or Abraham. But here he is simply Avram. His name is actually a contraction of 2 Hebrew words. Av means father. Ram means tall. It can have the sense of exalted or great. So Avram means tall dad, exalted father. And this is what he said to Avram. Lech. This is in the imperative. He's telling him. The verbal root is halach, which means to walk or go. Hey, as a letter on the front of the verb, is a weak letter, so it's dropped in this form, and we simply have lech. Walk, go. Lecha, which means to yourself or for yourself. Me otzcha, me from your eretz, land or country. U me moladecha, u and me from moladecha, your moledet. This word moledet comes from the verb yalad, which means to beget or give birth to. Yalad. Yod is another weak letter, so it is dropped when we get, for instance, this form, moledet. Now, this word moledet is interesting because it can either mean birth or it can mean relatives or kindred. It's translated in the New American Standard as relatives, but that does narrow the meaning of it slightly. It has to do with one's birth. U me beit, u and me from beit. Bait is house. Beit is house of. It's the construct form. You can also read that as household of avicha. Your av, father. El, to haaretz, the eretz, land or country. Asher, that or which. Arecha. Verbal root there is ra'a, to see. Arecha, I will cause you to see, or I will show you. Ve'escha, this is neat. The verbal root here is asa, and it means to, it usually has the sense of acting or doing. But here, it has the sense of making. Ve'escha, and I will make you by my action, by what I do. Legoy, to or for a goy. What is a goy? Well, if you ask a Jewish person today, what's a goy? They'll probably say, oh, that's a non-Jew. A goy is a Gentile. That is the nuance that the word has come to carry amongst Hebrew speakers, generally speaking today. But originally, in the text of the Torah, it simply means a nation, A goy is a nation. So when you talk about a person being a goy, or when you talk about the goyim in the plural, today, in the sense of non-Jews or Gentiles, you're talking about the nations of the world, quite simply, the non-Israel nations. Here, interestingly enough, God is telling Abram, I'm going to make you into a goy. Does that mean God is telling Abram he's going to make him into a Gentile or a non-Jew? Not exactly. He's telling him he's going to make him into a nation. What kind of nation? Gadol. The verb there, gadol, means to become big or great. So gadol as an adjective means big or great. I will make you into a big nation. V'avarechacha, and I will barach you. The verb to barach means to bless. Actually, interestingly enough, it's also a body part. The body part is where the concrete meaning comes from. The verb to barach literally means to kneel. Your berech in Hebrew is your knee. Your berech is your knee. So to barach literally means to kneel. So there is something about the act of kneeling that in Hebrew is the concrete picture of blessing. I invite you to take that concept and explore it, think it through, flesh it out. V'avarechacha, and I will bless you. V'agadla, and I will make gadol, big or great. Shmecha, your shem. What is a shem? Your name or reputation. Veye, and you will be, or you will become, bracha. What is a bracha? A blessing. From that root, barach, to bless. Va'avalcha, and I will barach, bless. Mavarachecha, your blessers. So those who barach you, I will barach. Umakalalecha, and those who kalal you. Now this is interesting. This verb here, to kalal, means to curse in this context, but what it literally means is to be light. So when you are making light of someone, that is the Hebrew sense, the literal Hebrew sense of cursing. So those who make light of you, those who curse you in that regard. Aol. Now the verbal root here is aral. The second resh is dropped. And we have aol. I will curse. It's another word for curse. So those who make light of you, I will curse. V'nivolchu. Again, there's that verbal root, barach, to bless. V'nivolchu, and will be blessed. V'cha, in you. Kol, all. Mishpachot, a mishpacha is a family. So mishpachot, all the families of ha-adama, the ground. Now this is interesting because we have the Hebrew word here for ground, adama, which is also the word from which we get the Hebrew word for all of humanity. All of humanity in Hebrew is simply called Adam, Adam, because we're all descendants of Adam, who came from the Adamah, the ground. I'll mention something briefly to you here. It's a Hebrew insight. This word here, which is v'nivrachu, and will be blessed, in the Hebrew usage of Yeshua's and Paul's time, this form of the verb also came to be used as an agricultural word. It was used in reference to being grafted in. So in Yeshua's and Paul's time, this Hebrew verb here, v'nivrachu, was understood to also mean to be grafted in. So when Paul, for instance, was reading this text of the Torah, a variant reading of this text that probably occurred to him was, and shall be grafted in, and you shall be grafted in all the nations, or all the families, of the earth. Interestingly enough, Paul took that idea of being grafted in, and he ran with it. Read Romans chapter 9 to 11, for instance. Vayelech, verbal root is halach, to walk or go. Vayelech, and went, Avram, ka'asher, just as. Dibel, this verb here, daval, means to speak or communicate, so just as spoke, elav, to him, Adonai. Vayelech, and he halach, walked.
Thanks for watching this trailer. To get this whole talk in audio or video format, go to holylanguage.com and subscribe. I'll see you there.